My father taught me many things. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
Hey folks, thank you for stopping by Kaiser's Castle. Grab yourself a coffee, tea, soda, or adult libation and grab a seat on my big orange couch. Today I have first off, introduced the music. That was actually on Ghost. His song Musso's Pizza. I know it has that nice Dago sound, like I like it. So, makes my Paisan blood flow. With that being said, I have a great guest on tonight. He is phenomenal dude. I've known him for a little bit, for a while. We talked quite a bit about stuff, and we're going to talk a little bit about bugging out, bugging in, and we're also going to talk about, as you guys know, when I'm talking about this kind of stuff with gear, I love to talk to civilians. I bring a military perspective, and I love civilians' perspectives, and he's one sharp dude, and he goes by the name Snacky. So Snacky, how you doing today, brother? He may have been
Hi, Kaiser, I'm doing well.
Awesome. So why don't you give yourself a brief introduction, and we'll get rolling right through it, brother.
Well, I got into gear about 10 years ago when I went on my first hike and just started acquiring stuff from then. And personally, I have a few different hobbies: automotives, gear, hiking, camping, fishing, that sort of thing.
Yep, real outdoorsy guy, and the thing about it is, your cars are lovely. A classical car guy. I mean, you know how to find a car, don't you, brother? I mean, you've lucked into a lot of them in your life. They've all been beautiful too.
Oh yeah, I guess kind of more about that hobby. I buy, build, and sell cars on the side. Not so much anymore because I think because of the economy, it's harder to find the classics that are good deals. But definitely throughout my life over the past 15 years, I've sought out some classics and built them and flipped them, and always enjoyed working on them, mainly American Muscle V8 stuff.
That's a definite fact. If you folks should have seen some of the pictures of him resurrecting these junk heaps, definitely that's a survival skill in and of itself, being able to work on your car. But that being said, we'll jump into your bags that you had thrown pictures up on. And as the people can see, the bags from left to right, the gray to the black, and they're flipped over for the straps because he's got, I thought when we were having our conversation a few nights back, he had some good points about straps and other things, and I was like, we need to do a show on this, and he happily and luckily agreed. So why don't you let the people, or tell them your thoughts on that, because those are good thought process. That was a good thought process, I thought.
Okay, I guess from the left, starting on the left, you got a Gregory backpack. Um, they're pretty affordable, pretty versatile pack. That one's weatherproof. It's got a waist strap, which is really important to get the weight off of your back and to try and get the less weight on your shoulders, in my opinion. I use my waist straps a lot on my packs that do have them. So the Gregory's got decent waist strap, and it's got a nice webbing back support on the back. Then from there, the next one over is a Rush 72, 5 of 11. The next one is a Decine boot bag. That one's got quite a bit of space in it. No real waist strap on that one. And then the one on the far right is a Taurus.
Now,
the Taurus is a cheaper pack too. It's got a waist.
So I guess the Taurus, is that like a computer bag or something you just take out if you're going to work or something like that, for the most part?
Yeah, it's a good backpack to carry laptops and electronic gear to the office or a meeting, or keeping it in your car. It has some really good quality zippers on it compared to some other brands that I've seen. I believe that one's also water repellent, and it's a cheaper backpack. I think that one was less than $100.
It's an interesting looking bag. The Gregory, I like what you brought up about having the hip pads, it puts some of the weight on your hips. Man, if I could talk today, I'd pay a penny for that, man. It's like I say waist instead of saying weight. I mean, that's just crazy. Sometimes folks know I hate my mind because I think so fast that I'm thinking about it's around your waist, but it actually transfers the weight to your hips and lower back, so it's not one complete thing. The meshing now, does that keep you cool in the hot summers that you are exposed to sometimes? Or do you notice?
It does. Yeah, it does. That Gregory pack, it's got more padding than on any of those other backpacks in the picture for the waist strap. And then the webbing on the back, it creates a gap between your back and the backpack and helps your back breathe. Not only that webbing is just really comfortable when you're weighing that particular backpack down. And then being able to tighten up that waist strap allows you to kind of run the shoulder straps a little looser. And I really love that pack. I can take that pack on an 18-mile, 20-mile hike, and I can put my water bladders inside of it and some snacks and be good to go all day with no discomfort. It's one of the most comfortable, most affordable backpacks I've ever run in.
That's awesome, man. I'll tell you, I got a backpack kind of similar, but maybe a little thinner. Yours looks fairly thin. This is a Camelback. I found it in Singapore, of all places. And that Camelback was the bomb. I mean, one of the pictures I've shared on the show before where I'm going down in a canal, that's the backpack I had. It was tan and brown. And that backpack has went everywhere with me. Even if I'm taking another Camelback, a larger rig. For a lot of reasons, man. The storage space in it, I can literally put my smallest sleeping bag in the compression sack by the size. It's a Recon 3. I'll put that down at the base of it. The bottom of it, it's got like 3 pockets on it, and they're massive. The main pocket, I can put that in. I can put my bivy bag that goes over my sleeping bag. So I got a dry, at least something dry. Throw in some of my 650 cord. Everybody say, well, what do you mean 650? Well, it's made by a company, and I use it all the time. I talked about it with Hesher and them, and it's an excellent bag, and it's called Survival Cord. And just look up Survival Cord, you'll find out the company's name. I went over to reach for it, but my headset has not got that far of a distance to reach. So just check out Survival Cord, and you'll know. And that's in the main pack. And I always have a pocket-sized tarp that is made by Snug Pack 2. So it's called a pocket tarp, and it comes in a little bag. So I believe I shared that on the Hesher show too. So you guys can all leaf through my videography, and you'll find out, well, not videography, but my, whatever this is, my YouTubeography, and you guys can find that show and see that gear. But yeah, man, all the packs, 511, I've never really had any good luck with. They're just, it just seems for the money, they're not worth it. And your thoughts on the 511 products?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and that also comes down to the comfort of the shoulder straps for me. And for example, taking this 72-hour rush pack that I have, second from the left, and going on a long hike with it, the shoulder straps are not very comfortable. Even when you have the waistband tightened all the way, it's just not a good pack for an all-day event. If you're doing more than 10 miles, at least for me, I don't like it that much. It starts to rub pretty bad. The shoulder straps, I wish they were spread out further, side to side on that pack. And then the shoulder straps, even on the Decine boot bag, those are too close together. Being able to tighten a waistband and then simultaneously being able to spread the shoulder straps out as far as they can go, but then also having the chest strap in between the shoulder straps and having a good waist strap is really important for a pack, in my mind, that you're going to go out on an all-day event or multiple-day hike or camping trip or whatever it is that you're doing.
Oh, I agree. I think 511, when they make their bags, I honestly think this is what they think about. They're not thinking about long-term. All their bags and stuff that I've ever seen is tactic cool. That's something, a phrase that we use in the my line of work. It's where it looks cool and it's efficient for, let's say, you're taking it from the station house to the vehicle, or you're taking it into the car if you're on a PSD, and you're walking out with it into the car, and it's going to go in the back or somewhere where you can grab. We call it a grab bag. But for all day, and I agree with you on that, with their stuff, same thing, I'm not a big fan of their boots either. But their clothing, now, when I first started doing this stuff, Royal Robbins was the source. Like, you see the vest that people run around with, the 511 vest and all that stuff, the shorts and all that. Well, it was designed by a mountain climber. Her and her husband were both mountain climbers. And Royal Robbins was the hit. Everybody used it. And then the State Department started buying it and other agencies. And then you'd go to Sally's Cop Shop right outside of Fletsy in Glencoe, Georgia, and right there you'd buy Royal Robbins. And then 511 became the hit. They actually bought all the patents and the manufacturing rights because it got too big for the family-owned business. And they subbed it out to, like, Vietnam, I think, is where 511's made now. All their stuff, pretty much. And it's either Vietnam. Yeah, it's Vietnam. It may be China now. Who knows? They were going for the lowest bidder. And they still sell it for an outrageous price. I got to let the dogs in, so can you run with that thought for a second, brother?
Sure. Yeah, 511 backpacks, if you're using one, let's say, as a bug out bag that stays in your car, I think they're perfect. I think there's a picture up there that compares a clean canteen bottle next to the 72 rush bag. Now, that backpack, the side pockets are perfect for clean canteen bottles, and then it's got a hydro pack spot. So if you needed to carry tools and water, maybe a sleeping bag, and an extra set of clothes to keep in your car, maybe a few flashlights or something, it's great for that. Just it's not going to be good for mobility and long-term trips that you're going hiking with. Or
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, brother. I will tell you, when you're talking about hydration, you put up some hydration stuff on that. That's key. People don't realize, a lot of people don't. Even in the cold, you have to hydrate. I don't think you can go more than 2 days without losing some functionality, at least of mind and body, without water. Your thoughts on that, brother?
yeah, absolutely. People up north, some of the colder states, will keep a bug out backpack all the time in their car with backup water, canned food, a few other things, like if they crash into a snowdrift or something. Um, that's a good example for using that type of backpack in your vehicle.
Oh, yeah. All day, every day, brother. Now, I've got your hydration stuff up if you want to talk about that stuff, from the bags to the bottles. Looks like you've got, let me see, a folding one. I think they used to call those Pactines back in the day, and they were made by Ketidine. And I think some of those actually have like a filtration system on them. You can correct me at any point that I'm wrong. And then the other bladder is, I can't really read it. And I noticed that you have a cleaning tube wire to go clean down the bladder's barrel where the water comes out. Otherwise, you get some nasty water. And you got a whole collection from like extended coffee. They look to be stainless steel, nicely decorated with places you've been, it looks like. And your thoughts on that, man? Well,
The Katadyn filtration collapsible. What am I trying to say? The Katadyn collapsible water bottle's pretty good. Combining that with the Hydro Pack water bladder that's in the center, that's really good for a multi-day event. If there's any kind of running water outside, like a creek or a river, you can use that Katadyn bottle, filter out your water straight into the Hydro Pack water bladder, and that the filter in the Katadyn, you can clean it up to a certain amount of time. So you're just flipping it in reverse against water flow in a creek to flush it out after you filtered your water. And that Hydro Pack, it'll fit in every water bladder on every backpack I've ever used. And the cleaning kit's pretty important. After a while, the Hydro Packs can get mold issues inside of them. And I clean that pack once or twice a year based on the amount of hiking that I do.
oh yeah, I know the importance of that. That's with my Camelback. I have that little hanger device for drying it. All my Camelbacks, no matter how large they are, I have that little hanger for drying it, and it makes it handy to actually dry it. And it folds down and it just expands it, and you just turn it upside down so gravity takes everything out. Definitely run that little brush, that wire brush going down in there. It's not really wire, it's that not acrylic, but plastic type of brush. for folks out there that don't know. And there's even like a little packet that you can get from Camelback that restores it really nicely. It's like a tablet inside a pout or a pack, like a little foil pack, and it dissolves like one of those. They used to. People would take it all the way, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, over to relief Alka-Seltzer. It's like an Alka-Seltzer tab, and that cleans that stuff right out. Does that Katadyn use the same kind of system in the Hydro Pack? Just curious.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're talking about the water purification pills, or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, no, they're not water. They're actually cleaning tabs. It comes inside. Usually, when you get your cleaning pack for Camelback, you'll get these blue foil packs, and they're just cleaning tablets. And you just drop it in like an Alka-Seltzer, and with the water in there, you're not going to drink that water because it's cleaning material. And then you rinse it, and then you hang dry it. So it's just and it really does. It cleans out and it disinfects. I don't think you can drink it as a whole, but yeah, purification tabs. I've used those different kinds, like Aqua Pure, the military tabs, of course. Used to get those given out liberally with even the federal agencies if I was working overseas. But like sometimes, I'll tell you, one of the biggest pleasures I ever found was working in Afghanistan and being in the Panjshir River Valley. And even with the old dead Russian vehicles that were in the middle of it from back in the day when the Russians were trying to get in there and nobody ever got in. From back in that day, in all honesty, that water you can drink it right out of the cup. A matter of fact, one of your stainless still bottles would have been ideal. It's nice, cold water, man. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to add something that I probably should have said earlier, too, that going with that type of loadout with the Katadyn and the Hydro Pack, or even some other water bottles and some kind of gravity-fed water filtration system that's mobile, it's really key to roll around with paracord with you, because you can tie up your gravity-based water filter to drain that water into whatever reservoir you're using to hydrate yourself with, like hanging it from a tree or hanging it from a car or something.
That's definite. Do in the morning, put some plastic down and do a solar still or a dew collection, and you just have that bottle right there. Make a little hole when you put the rock down. Don't cover the hole with the rock now, folks. You got to make that hole to where it's right off the side of where that rock is, and you'd be surprised how much you can get overnight for water. Same thing with handkerchiefs. That's why I'm a fan of handkerchiefs. Tie them around your feet and your legs, and you'd be surprised how much water you can wring out just from walking through dew-filled grass. Your thoughts on that?
Man, that's a great idea. I've never heard anybody talk about that before. Definitely bring some handkerchiefs. I've used them for other things, like to keep frost off of my beard or something while I'm snow hiking, but that's a really good, that's a really great extra use for to hydrate yourself.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, another thing is really good for, I showed my son this when he was going through Boy Scouts, and I even got a picture. They were young. Him and his buddy made a water filtration. We're at a lake, and those boys couldn't wait to get their little bucket that they had and test it. But you start out with big rocks. You have layers to it, right? It's a teepee, basically. And you tie the handkerchiefs to it, and you got big rock, littler rock, and then at the very bottom, your final thing is sand, and after the sand, you have charcoal from the fire. Charcoal that's already been, it's not all the way done. You know what I mean? It's not to the white. And that filters out water really nicely. And then the last one has, the last handkerchief has just a handkerchief. So you have an initial filtration of a handkerchief going to the big rock that's filtered through the handkerchief, going through the smaller rock, going through the sand, going through the charcoal, and then going through the last handkerchief. And so about 6 handkerchiefs down, you have drinkable water. The other thing about charcoal, a lot of people don't know, you learn this in E&E school, and I've also been taught it in survival school. Black if you're slack, white if you're tight. So if you're having a problem going to the bathroom, i.e. number 2, you can put some white charcoal into your water, the powder, the ash, and you can drink some of that, mix it in there, and you'll go to the restroom, trust me. And if you're slack, i.e. you got the runs going on, you just bite off some of the charcoal that's blackened around, some daggone stick or something, and you wash it down with some water. Oh, it'll tighten you right up. Your thoughts on that? Well, we might have lost Snacky for a second. We'll wait for him. He'll come back on. I'm not stressed. His connection sometimes goes in and out. So, with that being said, I think he's got some really good ideas on this stuff, folks. And I'm going to move it to the next page, which is his sleep system and different things with it. And I'm a fan of some of this stuff too, and I think you should be. It's interesting stuff that I never would have looked at. So, Snacky, did you hear the last part of what I said? I was hoping he was back, but I guess he's not back yet. Next to the bear mace, I can't remember what he said all this stuff is, but the far right is a sleeping pillow. Yeah, gotcha, perfect. We're good. Just roll with it.
Cool.
Did you hear the end part of it when I was talking about charcoal and building the filtration system, my son and him?
Yeah, that's a great way to clean your water. It's really important to have at least one method to try and clean water. You don't want to get some kind of infection from drinking some contaminated water. That'll ruin your trip completely. Sometimes you won't be able to even keep food down, and drinking contaminated water can lead to dehydration.
Oh yeah, definitely, quickly. And that's why I brought up black if you're slack, white if you're tight. If you are going out number 2 loosey-goosey, that means you're slack. You eat a little bit of charcoal and the black stuff that's on the stick and wash it down with some water. It'll tighten you up. And if you're tight and you can't go, mix some ash in with your water, and that'll help you, slacken up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yep. So, I mean, charcoal's a wonder thing. People don't realize it. Even charcoal cord or any char cloth, excellent to start fires with, just like you put it under your kindling. But yeah, no, I've got your sleep systems up, both the bear spray one picture and the sleep system that you have, that other photo. They're both up right now if you want to describe to the people what they are. And oh, by the way, before we get off that and onto this, talk about your stainless steel water jugs and what you use them for on the day-to-day. I'll go back for that. I plumb forgot. I shouldn't have changed it. That was one thing you didn't answer on the last thing. Well, I hope.
So from left to right, these are clean canteen products. Um, and both of the clean canteen bottles on the left, I like to use those in the side pockets of my 72 rush bag when I'm going on long trips in the car. Like if I'm doing a 10-hour drive, I'll slide one of those in each side pocket of the 72 rush bag. Um, they've got a rubber gasket on them and a lid with uh, an area to clip something on, so you can suspend those water bottles if you need to. You can even hang them over a campfire as long as you're not too close. Um, and then a canteen coffee mug next to that, the same function, uh, an area where you can hang it from something. It also has uh, a sipping, I don't know what you call it, like an opening that you can close and open to sip from. Basic thermos on the right hand side. That's my main loadout when I go camping. I'm going to be gone for a few days. I'll take at least the water bottles on the left.
Oh yeah, man, that's ideal. To have a couple. I use Nalgene plastics, but I have one canteen that I take that's metal type, and it's a suspension one. All I did was paint over the stainless on the outside with high temp paint and high temperature paint. Of course, you have to put it in the oven or on your barbecue grill to get it to firmly settle in. But I found that's ideal for boiling water if you need to. Of course, the old military canteen cups and also the military cook pot set that you can get, we got issued when I was in the military. So, yeah, those are all good items too. And that also boiling water that decontaminates, gets rid of the cryptosporidium and all them little other bugs and contaminants that could really ruin your hiking trip, right?
Yep, absolutely, man.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. All right, so we'll jump over to the sleep gear. And I told you the two picks, so you can explain to everybody what you do with that stuff so everybody knows what it is.
Well, I'll talk about those, but which one are we on? Are we on the one with the bear mace? Or
It's on both of them. I have them on one screen, brother. So you can talk about all of them, and they're going to know what you're talking about.
Okay, that's a Maxpedition Molly pouch on the left. It's good for all types of stuff. I put the bear mace next to it because sometimes I'll roll around with the bear mace, slid inside of that. The pack that the bear mace has on it, the greatest. It's not easy to quickly pull it out. And then there's a cheap Pro Venture hammock in the center. You can get more compact hammocks than that. There's some straps inside of there that are pretty critical that I upgraded that kit with. Just be aware that if you have a hammock, that a lot of times the straps they come with aren't the best ones you can roll with. So getting some good weight fortified adjustable straps to go in hammock kit is pretty crucial. Hammocks come with rain flies and bug flies too, which help. That one, unfortunately, is just an open top hammock, so there's certain seasons that I can't use it in, especially in the south where a lot of the bugs are out. And then there's a pillow, a Thermarest compact pillow on the right hand side. All that stuff I can fit in a backpack. Then on the other picture, I just showed an example of some different bags to hold sleeping bags with. The blue field on the left, that's cheap. Anybody can get those for less than $20. They're kind of waterproof, but I would only recommend using those for something that maybe you only keep in your car that never goes out in the elements, or if you're out in the desert camping, it's not going to hurt because you're probably not going to get rained on down there. Sea to Summit is a really good waterproof bag. You can compact huge, uh, extremely thermal sleeping bags or a light one. It doesn't matter. It compacts things really well and keeps the water off of it. And it compresses a lot more than that. The X-Bed is a really huge, or sorry, not huge. It's a small twin-size sleeping pad, and it's got a hand pump that looks like a whoopee cushion. And I wanted to show that because that's my favorite bug out pad. It's not great for if you have to go hiking miles and miles into the backwoods and bringing it with you. It's not ideal for that, but if you have some people coming over to visit, or if you know you only have to go off trail maybe a half mile or a mile to get to your spot, it's not bad. It's extremely comfortable to lay out a sleeping bag on top of it. And while we're talking about that, Kaiser, I was hoping you'd bring up that what you call it. I think it's called Ultralight, which is a really good cot kit we were talking about the other day.
Oh yeah, that's made by I guess the same company that I have. We were talking about it. Bought it, and it was called Ultralight at the time, and it's got rings and little pieces of aluminum or stainless. I don't know what they are. And then of course it's got a mesh covering. Outstanding little cot. And then you showed me, since they got it bought out, they have like bug net over it, and Thermarest now makes it. And it's just a bunch of rings, little pegs for feet going into the ground. It's maybe 4 or 5 inches, maybe 6 inches off the ground, and everything's around little poles, and then it stretches. It's really ingenious the way it's made. Like I said, I've got mine, but I've never ever used it. A buddy of mine set his up while we were out doing some training, and mine, I just never had a need to use it because I had, a long time ago with my son when he was still in, bought an Eno insect shield double nest hammock, and that's what I'll usually use. And you were right to have those straps to connect it from tree to tree or rock to rock or whatever. It's vital to have good securing because, man, you don't want to fall down. The nice thing is this does have a cover to it too in case it rains. You know, it's going to give you some protection. Still put a tarp over it. My suggestion to you. But yeah, I've never used mine. I helped him put his up and take his down, but mine never has been out of the bag, honestly. I think I shared that with you when we were talking, right?
Right. And Kaiser, that Thermarest product, I think that would be ideal for doing some deep woods camping. I mean, even if you had to go 10, 15 miles off trail, it looks like it packs small enough that it wouldn't be too cumbersome with the rest of your gear.
Oh, it's not.
The X-Bed would not be ideal for that type. It doesn't compact well at all. Keeping it in a bug out location like a cabin or something is cool, but that Thermarest product is fantastic for the size that it can be broken down into for travel.
Oh yeah,
Fit right inside of a backpack.
It does, man. I mean, it's awesome. I like I said, I'd forgotten where I put it, and I found it, and I was like, wow, you know, in the CONEX box. That when I got it back, it was all dump and wibble wobbled. So yeah, it was funny. I just happened to find it. I'm like, oh, that's where that went. And same with my Thermarest pad. Like I said, I just didn't need to carry it because I had the Eno sleeping pad or hammock, and so I just didn't use mine. But I laid on his after we built it, and I was like, wow, these are comfy. They were comfy. I didn't sleep on it. I just laid down to check it out, and I couldn't believe it would hold me up. but it does, and it's, if you're in scorpion country, you're not quite out of reach of their stingers, but Jake the Snake might go under you and he might miss you, or crawl over you. Who knows what Jake the Snake's going to do. But yeah, it's real low key. It's not like a normal sleeping cot, so you're not elevated real high. There's negatives and positives to both of those things. I prefer, as long as there's not tree snakes, so I'm not going to do it in Thailand or Okinawa or, places like that, or Philippines. But yeah, normally in America, we don't have too many tree snakes, where places I go. So I don't mind using a hammock if I can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, different types of sleeping bags too. I was going to talk about those a little bit.
Cool.
I know you were saying you have two different types that you roll with, and I'm kind of the same way. And I do it based on knowing what type of climate I'm about to be going to. So,
yep.
Inside of the Sea to Summit, I don't know the brands of the backpacks, so I'm not going to try and tell anybody what type of brand, but I think you'll know once you put your hand to it and try to see what kind of insulation is in it, to know what's right for you. But I keep one that's good for -30, and then I keep a different one that's for down to 20. Obviously, the one that's rated for down to 20 degrees is a lot lighter than the -30. And I can sleep on top of the 20-degree rated bag if it's just swampy hot outside, like in South Alabama or up in Montana. Can use the -30 no problem. Even in September hiking.
Yep. Sounds good, brother. I've always used snug packs. The Recon 3 is a -5 degrees Celsius bag, which I believe, if memory serves, is like 15 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's good for even summer. You just keep it vented open. And the other snug pack is for really cold weather, and that takes you down to a low of -4 degrees Fahrenheit. And in Afghanistan or wherever I'm at, man, I felt warm in it. And as long as you have the bivy bag cover over it that shields a lot of the wind, so you're not losing heat through wind going over you or under you, I've found that a good bivy bag will always pull you through. The bivy bag I prefer is a Kathmandu trekking expedition equipment. It's made in Britain. I got it back in 2005 when I went and visited my brother Blackie, who I was in the Gulf War with. He was a British Royal Military policeman, and we served together. And we went to a shop, and they had this thing. This thing goes with me everywhere I go. I love this bivy bag. Your thoughts? Well, hopefully we didn't lose him again. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, there's a lot of different great brands of backpacks out there. I would suggest if somebody is trying to figure out a backpack for themselves, maybe checking out REI and just seeing all the different brands that they make available. Not that you necessarily have to purchase them there, but they have a wide selection for you to read up on if you just wanted to go to one location to try and find more out about different brands of packs. And they're not going to have military grade packs, but good beginner's backpacks.
Sleeping bags, right? We're talking about sleeping bags, right? You said backpacks.
Yeah, sleeping bags.
Hey, no problem, man.
Multiple pictures in here.
Yeah, no. That's all good, brother. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I had a North Face bag. I loved it, man. And I think I told you about this before. My son wanted to do a cold weather camping out, and of course it was his first time. So I said, well, before you do that, we're going to do it out at the house. I'll show you how to do it right. Put up Mylar. First we put up the tarp. We used it in a tarp method. We put up Mylar blankets in there to reflect the heat from the fire. Used cots so we weren't on the snowy ground. And I let him have, and at that time I only had my minus 5 Celsius bag. And it was cold. It was below zero. And he still got that bag. Pisses me off. Because, I basically gave it to him. I'm just being facetious about pissing me off. But that little fucker is sleeping in his underwear all night, and I'm fucking bundled up. And luckily, the bivy bag kept the wind off me, but it stayed rather warm in there. By the morning time, I had unzipped my. I was clothed. I should have not been as clothed as I was because I was kind of moist when I woke up. That's the problem with winter camping, is that you will sweat during the night. It is best to get, down to your skivvies, but man, it's quite a wake up when you got to use the restroom at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. So it's just a wake up, and it's hard to get back to sleep kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, good points. You can bear winter camping too, sleeping in decent liners. Decent socks, decent cold underwear, and then combining that with like a degree rated bag is doable. But then getting down to your skinnies in the really cold climates, really going to benefit a lot better for something that's rated with a sleeping bag that's rated for negative 20, negative 30 degrees.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's true, brother. We'll jump down. We've talked about the bags. I think we've fleshed that out, and we'll hit the lighting. And I have that big 3-picture, those 3 components of the lighting up right now, and you can tell everybody what it is. Your lights.
On the left is a Nebo Slide King. It's got a magnet on it. You can stretch it out into a wand. And then next to that is a Black & Decker with a magnet on it. It's got a multi-directional light twist. It's also got a clip on it where you could hang it from a polycord or something. And then there's a battery pack on the right made by Amudo. It's got a digital display on it that shows you what level it's at. I think that one's 20,000 milliamp hours. But all those 3 pieces of gear I like to leave inside of my car. They're good for emergencies. If I have to crawl up underneath the car to look at something, especially at night, or looking underneath the hood, I can magnetize one of those lights underneath the hood and try to look at stuff. And then the battery, that's just great to keep around and charge the Nebo flashlight, or to charge a phone, something else.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I have a solar powered one, but you can also power it. It has a USB. It's made by Tough Tested, whatever that brand is. It's made in China. Imagine my surprise, right? I got it in Afghanistan, but I've actually charged my little internet thing that you got internet from, the cell phone towers, and I charged whatever they call it. I can't think of it. I'm looking at the damn thing now, and we called it a dongle, but it doesn't plug into your computer. It just gathers it, and if your cell phone or your device has wireless, you have wireless internet. And it would also charge my phone, and that's in a 12-hour day. So it was very handy to have that, because you go out with a full charge on your device and on your computer thing, your dongle. And my dongle, it was made by Well, I think the name on it is on it, so let me grab it. Sapphire Touch. It's a wireless data terminal. That's what they call it. Yeah, it would charge that, and it would also charge my device, and the milliamps on it, and it does slowly charge up using the thing, so I'd always have it out in the sun. But its output is DC 5 volts 1 amp and DC 5 volts 2.1 amp, and its capacity is 8,000 milliamps, 29.6 WH. Anyway, so that's what it does, and it's like I said, it's got I could charge both of them at one time, and it took a long time till that thing went down 2 lights. And the third light, you're still getting charged. The fourth light it'll charge, but it's like a trickle charge. It'll just keep it going. Whatever device you're plugged into, you can't unplug it at all. Your thoughts?
Yeah, flashlights in general are just critical for the bug out bags. Cars or going camping, if you're out on a multi-day trek, keeping one handy pretty damn important.
Hell yeah, they are. Flashlights and night vision and all that stuff's great for camping. We'll get into that when we start talking about bug out stuff, but let's run to your Hazard 4 laptop bag, I believe is what it is, or some sort of computer device bag. And then you have something under it that I don't quite know what it is. Maybe earbuds or something.
That's a clamshell container for a mouse.
Oh, for a mouse. Okay, I can see it now. Sorry.
I have to go to a lot of meetings and stuff for my job, and I had a laptop briefcase. This is your basic leather one. I hated it. Doesn't fit well inside of backpacks. I had to find something that was a little bit smaller, and since I travel to those types of situations with my backpack, like my 72 rush bag, I'll put all my extra gear like my chargers, thumb drives, all that stuff in the pockets of the backpack, and I can put that Hazard 4 laptop sleeve inside of the backpack, and it's got a lot of cushion in it to help protect the laptop. I've really enjoyed that Hazard 4 bag lately. And then the clamshell is important to protect a mouse. You don't want the buttons on your mouse pressed or all the time inside of a backpack. It can damage it. So clamshell protects it.
I feel you on the Hazard 4. I've got a suitcase rolling bag, and it's a carry-on, but usually I'll throw it in luggage, because I end up carrying my Tough Book in there, because I can compute on it, and it can also be Exhibit A. So that's why I like to have my Tough Book on my person at all times. But the interesting thing about it is I can put my regular laptop, whatever I'm taking, whichever one I choose to take, and I can put that in. There's a slot in that bag for putting your laptop. And honestly, now I feel like a total dumbass with internet after you, or not internet, but computers, when you said this about the clamshell, because I only take my batteries out, and I just throw the fucking mouse in there. I do it with all my shit. I just throw it in the bag. I don't care. And if it breaks, I get a new one on the economy. You know what I mean? It's just like, I wish I was as protective of my gear, I guess, as you are, but it's to me, it's kind of consumable. I've spilt beer on fucking what do you call them, wireless keyboards and on mouses before, and it's just like, gotta buy one. If it's too late on the economy and I can't get it tonight, I'll get it first thing in the morning. I guess it just I don't know, but that is a good thing to have that clamshell. Who makes that? Just curious.
That thing is some kind of off-brand. You see, um, now I don't think there's a brand anywhere on this. You can get these for like $10 or so on eBay or Amazon or something.
Well,
And then I have a clamshell too that I use for a keyboard sometimes. They make clamshells for all types of gear to protect it, power cords, hard drives, you name it. And man, the Tough Book is one badass laptop. Panasonic started making those. I think, didn't they start using the Tough Books in the Iraq War? I've got a CF-19 here sitting right next to me.
well, mine was built in 2005, and I believe I paid for. It was in Iraq when I got it. Going to Iraq, it was $5K. Fuck, you can buy them now for like $250. But my computer guy, he's a former federal government guy, worked for an agency, and he's wicked smart with computers. And I've got that thing maxed out with all the RAM it can take, all the memory it can take. So he's flipped the chip on it so many times. Whenever I come back from any job, I have him go over all my computers to see if there's any malware, spyware, anything put on it that was, like I got side hacked when I was in Afghanistan. And I didn't even know what the hell that was until I saw a couple charges on my card after he looked at it. And he goes, you got sidejacked. That's what they call it, sidejacked. And I'm like, what do you mean? And at that time, that was 2009. Where somebody can actually sit next to you and that's how we had to do it, was an open cafe. If you didn't have your computer strictly at home, you had to go to these internet cafes in the government's wisdom. And of course you had the Muslims in there allowed to come in, which is okay, whatever, but there's a lot of criminality and everybody's trying to get a come up. And I got hit a couple of times on my credit card while I was over there, and I had to shut my credit card off. Then when I get back, my guy's like, "Hey, you got sidejacked. Look at this." And he shows me, and he goes, where were you using the internet? People in your tent? No, we were in a condition where we had to use the open cafe to do personal emails and stuff. We couldn't. You're not using Zipper and NipperNet for that kind of shit. And so you use your own personal thing, and some idiot in there just decided to jump on my computer and see what I had. Somehow they're able to do it. That's a real thing, but they leave a fingerprint. I can't remember how he knew, but it left some sort of a digital fingerprint that somebody had been on my computer or used my computer through another computer or something. I can't remember exactly how he explained it to me, but it was something like that. Your thoughts?
They make gear to try and protect your credit cards and stuff from being scanned. I don't know if it works. Like I wear an RFID shielded wallet on me at all times, and I couldn't tell you if the damn thing works or not. But as far as getting data stolen wirelessly like that, the last two bureaucratic corporations I've worked at have made me literally take classes on that stuff, and it's kind of a new thing. And then I know I'm getting on sidetracked here, but I know they can attach devices on the back of a gas pump or something and hide it, and they'll grab people's info as they come and pay for gas.
Oh yeah, that
man.
And ATMs.
It's trying to protect your information in today's world.
Well, there's a company out there, Ranger Gear, and I get these sleeves. I got them a long time ago from working somewhere. It's rangergear.com, and you can put anything that's got. They make one for my passport lives in one. My old one I didn't worry about because I didn't have that fucking chip. But the RFID blocking sleeves is what it's called. and it goes around credit cards, your driver's licenses. If your driver's licenses have chips, whatever's chipped, it'll keep them from getting the RFID shit off it. And that's a product I suggest. I didn't start getting that until after I got sidejacked, and then a bro's mine was like, "Hey man, come here, you gotta get this shit." I was like, "All right." So that's how, to avoid it. That shit works. I think, yeah.
Also, I've heard using Faraday cage based bags, which I think are kind of the same thing. I'm not sure, but supposedly they'll protect your gear if an EMP goes off, so maybe that's good for bug out too. I don't have anything labeled Faraday cage, but I've seen stuff for sale online.
Well, that's something that a lot of people don't understand completely. A Faraday cage is nothing more than wire mesh, some type of copper wire mesh normally, or wrapped in aluminum. There's different ways you can do it, but it's basically shielding a device. If you can put your cell phone while it's on, and let's say you build something like a phone booth, right? And you just put a screen like you have for your windows, right? But it's all copper screening. You can buy it. And you wrap that around that phone booth. And it's completely closed. And that means when you close it, it's copper to copper. If the door opens and closes, you have to have constant, there can't be any gaps. And once it closes, that's a Faraday cage, because you can walk in to that kind of device and your cell phone won't work at all. People can call you, everything. It doesn't exist at that point. And so that's a useful thing. That's all I'll say. But you can build one. Yep. Might have lost him again, folks. We're still
no, I'm here.
Cool.
I don't have anything else to say on it. It's an interesting topic.
Oh,
I think one day I'd like to try and build my own, like you were talking about, maybe in a big wooden chest or something.
It doesn't have to be wood. You could do it out of a tooltainer, a toolbox. It's got to get copper lined, and it has to constantly maintain contact. All of that has to maintain contact. And a small toolbox, you could put an alternator in it. If you have a VW, you could put an extra generator in it, for your car, because EMP will shut down your car. Any solid state you have, that means anything not tubed will get burned out. Like my Prick 25 would be fine, but my Prick 77 would be toast because it's solid state. The 25 is tubed. The worst thing it'll do to my 25 is I have to put a new tube in it. That's honestly the fix for it. And that's why the Russians, the Soviets, well, they're Russians now, they still use tubed technology. And people say, oh, they're so archaic. No, it's because their shit's EMP hardened. They expect nuclear war. It's just their mindset. It's a different mindset. Like Kimmy and I show about prepping during the Cold War. All this stuff, this is institutional memory that gets lost, folks. As this old fuckers die out, you young guys all spend your time with computers in solid state, and I'm no better. I'm on a computer right now. But you have to remember, all that shit can go. Remember the Carrington event in the 1880s. That was just telegraph line, and that shit sizzled up, and that's a natural event. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, a nuclear event that creates that EMP. The sun throws some nasty little shades at you, some nice little spots, and you'll see what a Carrington event is when your telephone lines and everything just like hashed, and your electrical carrying lines. I mean, this is real deal shit, folks, and you should take heed to it, honestly. Or we'll suffer the consequences as a nation. Your thoughts on that, brother?
Adding to that, everybody nowadays is, most of us are driving fuel injected cars now. If you're driving one, that means you've got a computer in the car controlling the fuel injection too. Um, Having an extra car computer, putting that in a RFI shielded bag or a Faraday bag would be a good shit hits the fan prep.
Hell yeah, it is. That's the whole thing. It's all about being prepared for what may come. You know, the worst event. But I've got your gloves and your shoes. What we called gloves back in the day are hand shoes. And then I got your clothes, your regular outer or underclothes, kind of not underwear, but your shirts and your jeans, brother, and your boots, your gloves, and your socks. And the socks are a big thing. He told me about these socks, folks. You pay attention to him on this. This is some badass shit. I liked it. All right, go on, brother, and preach, because I got to hear this again, and I want everybody to benefit from this.
All right, I'm starting on the picture with the socks and the gloves. I don't know if you turned yours right side up or what. I'm looking at one and it's upside down where the foot of the sock is facing the top of the screen.
Mine I flipped. It's up. It's right side up, not upside down, brother. I flipped it for you.
Okay. Well then, from left to right, you've got on the top left, you've got Darn Tough socks. Darn Tough socks are badass. They've got lifetime warranties. You've got different grades of Darn Tough, and those are good outside layer socks. And any kind of sock that you want for long hiking trips, you want to try and find one that's got at least 3 blends of something in it, in my opinion. It's going to hold sweat real well. And then on to the middle sock. That is a Smart Wool sock liner. And those are badass. I've worn those in all types of climates, from negative 35 degree Januaries in Montana to the swampiest weather in Alabama in the first week of July. And that sock liner, you can wear that with no sock on the outside in the swampy climates, and it is perfect for putting underneath thick hiking socks or insulated winter socks up north. It's just a perfect base layer, and it wicks the sweat off of your feet. I've worn a lot of different brands of sock liners, and I'm going to rep that right now. If you haven't ever tried a Smart Wool sock liner, check it out. They're good investments and are versatile for any climate. Then the socks going further to the right, those are 3 different types of Smart Wool, basically thermal socks. I only wear those thermal socks in hard winters up in Montana. I've never worn those thermal socks in any other cold climate, not even in Colorado, because I never needed them. I guess I probably would if I went skiing or something. That might be good to go inside of a boot. But all in all, the most versatile socks up there that I've tried are the Darn Toughs mixed with the Smart Wool sock. Check out Darn Tough too. I mean, if you ripped a hole wide in it, you can send them back and get them replaced.
That's the deal. That and the Smart Wool, man. Both those socks, when we were talking the other day, I was like, that is the bee's knees. Now, the gloves, or as I call them, hand shoes, because they're shoes for your hands. And we can go left to right on those, man, because I know the just run with it, brother. Let them preach it.
So on the far left, those are insulated Carhartt gloves. They're leather. They've got some really nice insulation on the inside. I used to keep those for emergencies inside of my car. When I was up in Montana, I was always worried about crashing my car into snowdrifts, and I kept those in there to use mainly for my tow rope and hooks. That's just a great glove too. If I had to wipe snow off of my windshield, I use those gloves. I use them with scrapers too. Carrying firewood outside. I've used those for all types of stuff in extremely cold climates down to negative 35. Uh, and those are just some basic generic glove liners in the middle. Uh, Again, using glove liners with some thicker gloves, cold climates where it gets down to negative 35 just really helps. You don't want sweat building up on your hands while you're working. You want that sweat to get off of your hands. So glove liners are critical for that. Um, then on the far right, those are Burtons, and they're kind of thin. They've got gripping pads on them. Combining those with glove liners, they're perfect again for working outside when using combination like that in really cold climates.
Oh yeah, I mean they're to me. I was looking at them and I was like, they're like the shoe or the hand shoes I normally wear, which are mechanics gloves. So you still probably get that tactile feel from your fingers and whatnot, right?
Yep,
Yep.
nothing's gonna slip out of your hand. Those Burton gloves on, but keeping
Nice.
your fingers warm so that you can actually squeeze your grip. The colder your hands get, the harder it is to use to squeeze your hand and put force onto something.
Oh, that's the truth. When I was going through school and I was an iron worker, a union iron worker, and Ohio gets downright cold. And we were a mixed local. So I did rods, rebar, that's what we call it, rods. I did structural and machinery moving. And you're damn right. If it's cold out there and you're tying rod all day, Arthur will start ringing on you. Arthritis, that's what we used to call him. Arthur will start binging on you because you're having a problem gripping the pliers to tie the rebar uh, with that soft annealed wire. So I know exactly what you're talking about, brother.
Yeah, and shit hits the fan scenarios for winter prep. Having some way to keep those hands warm working outside is crucial. I've crashed in a snowdrift a couple of times, and those combinations of gloves and the combination of socks while wading through 3 4 foot snow and 20 to negative 35 range, it just really helps you stay productive and keep moving at a good pace.
Yeah, I'll tell you the funniest thing I ever saw was these boys from West by God, Virginia. They used to say, no, it was Kentucky. And it was Sandy Hook, Kentucky. That's where they were from. Anyways, they'd come down with them little brown gloves. You know the brown gloves you can find? I think they call them jersey gloves. And they'd put them on at break, at lunch, and, the second break. And they'd put them over the heater vent trying to dry them out. But them some tough old boys, man, because they'd get them soaked, especially picking up rebar out of water in the cold, or if it hadn't frozen the water but it's ice cold out, and those gloves get wet instantly. That's what I started using when I first started doing it, and I learned, no, you got to get something that has some water resistancy to it. And then I went through Gore-Tex gloves like it was cool. That cost a lot of money, and I ended up just like you did with the Sensilit lined Carhartts, and I never had a problem with them. Honestly, I just would put that I can't think of what it's called. It's like a silicone protectant that you sprayed on them, and it kept the wetness down. That's for sure, and kept them warm even if they were wet with that Sensilit. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, great points. Also, wearing a jacket or a long sleeve shirt that's got loops in it so that it literally, the shirt or the jacket sleeve literally hooks around the hand. And then after you got that part of the sleeve hooked around the hand, running that hand into a good insulated glove that goes a little bit past your wrist, like those Carhartts, you're not gonna get snow inside of your hand or get ice next to the flesh on your hand with that type of combination. Just that's a good way to stay warm and work if you're trying to attach a tow hook to your car in the snow or trying to shovel snow, move snow with your hands to get a car out of a snowdrift. Stuff's great.
Fucking A right, brother. That's the truth and nothing but the truth you just spoke there. They are excellent for that. Now, those boots, these are your normal boots that I have up. Why don't you talk about those two things? And then we'll go to the jeans and your shirts. And then we'll roll over to your colder than normal boots, your cold weather gear.
Well, I think shoes are all to each his own. It's a good thing to try and find stitching on hiking shoes where you know the shoe's going to bend when you're actually bending your foot. Look for stitching in those areas. You just want a good flexible hiking shoe. That's why I like Obos. There's tons of stitching on them. Those two shoes are two different types of Obos. Which is made in Bozeman, Montana. I put thousands of miles on both of those shoes. The brown Oboe shoe on the right, I've summited 14,000 foot mountains, and those have done really well with a smart wool sock and a darn tough sock on top of that. You know, starting out a hike where it's 75 degrees or 80 degrees up in a high elevation and be able to sweat into that shoe, but it still stays dry. It's got mesh on it. Your foot breathes okay. I changed the laces out in the shoe on the right with some paracord laces. All in all, there's tons of different other brands out there that are great, like Keen, Merrell. I think you've got a set of Merrell shoes, don't you, Kaiser?
Yeah, I have like 4 sets of them. Just because I alternate them. I'll tell you a weird shoe that I have. It has no water resistancy, so but I like it. It's called a Zero shoe. I accidentally bought them for me and my wife. She's got the hiking boot too. It's good in cold weather and stuff, snow and stuff. It's fine if you're not walking around a lot in it. But I learned the hard way working at a friend's ranch, helping them out, that they weren't really good walking through dewy grass constantly for long distances. And what I mean by that is they get soaked quickly. But the Zero shoe goes by the concept that your feet are supposed to naturally contact the ground. And they're almost like a sandal. They have very little padding, just enough for your feet to be comfortable, but you actually feel the earth really well. And I do like them. I'm not going to slam the company, but yeah, you have to think about that kind of boot. It would keep you warm in the winter, don't get me wrong, but if it got wet, you're going to feel it, you know, and there's nothing worse than wet feet, especially if you're walking for long distances. It leads to blisters. Just like wet hands lead to blisters. You know, that's why I call gloves, you know, hand shoes. And that's the truth. Your thoughts?
You also mentioned another shoe that was a new brand for me to learn about, I think called Corcoran, and they had a really cool history and lots of really cool styles for tactical.
Oh yeah. Corcorans are a staple for the airborne and tankers because they were the only ones that made airborne jump boots and tanker boots. And they go back to the Second World War. And I guess you told me they got bought out by another company, didn't you? It's Corcoran still the brand name, but wasn't there another company that now owns it? I believe you told me.
Yeah, I think so, and I can't tell you what that is right now. But yeah,
they're a fine boot. I can't deny that. You know, I normally will wear that's a military issue boot. So, you know, I have a pair of Ranger Joe's boots. It's like a second skin. I love them. That's what I've worn mostly since '05. And if I'm not wearing those, I'm wearing my Red Wing Irish Setters. They're like that maroon Red Wing color. Nice 10-inch boot, 8-inch boot, whatever it is. You know, everybody knows I'll walk around with my boots unlaced. If I'm lacing my boots up, shit's about to get real. So I don't lace them up much because everybody knows, hey, he's got his boots laced, something's going on. You know.
the Red Wings are badass. I wish I'd never thrown mine away. At that time, I didn't realize you could resole them, and that was the best freaking boot I've ever had. They lasted 10 years, and I wore them smooth.
Well, I've had my boots since 1995 when I started out in ironwork. I went to work for a company called Law, and we were doing a job for Owens Corning, and we were making the experimental glass plant for them to prove of concept for a product called Miraflex, and it's itchless insulation. They renamed it now, and it looks pink, but it used to be white, and it was sold under the title of Miraflex. And I think you and I were talking, and I was like, I don't know if that stuff's still being sold. I haven't seen, the white stuff for a long time. And I looked it up, and they just renamed it, and I can't remember what they renamed it because somebody had asked a question, have they discontinued Miraflex? And the answer came from Owens Corning. No, it's not been discontinued. It's under this model. I told you what it was. I can't remember what it was, brother. But yeah, those boots I've had since 1995. So what is this? 2020. So that's 25 years. I've sent them back to Red Wing 3 times. Gotten them resold. I had new eye grommets put in and new little wraps. You wrap the very top of them and then you tie because they broke off. And I think the last time I had to pay shipping. That was it.
Have you ever used beeswax or any kind of other wax to melt into a leather boot to try and snowproof it or waterproof it?
No, I normally will use there's a spray. I use it on my tents too. It's always worked. And then around where the boots are coming together at the seams, it's a product for camping too called Seam Sealer. The other one's made by 3M. I think maybe Seam Sealer is made by 3M too. Can't remember. I think so. But it's a spray-on product. It's probably got silicone in it. But yeah, I've never had no issues. I use Kiwi, boot shining product, and there's some natural waterproofing on that, but over top of it, in the military I just had to use straight Kiwi because that's what they expect you to use. But as a civilian, I'll throw that 3M spray on it. It's Camp Dry, that's the name of the product, and I put that on everything, my tents, everything. If it's going out with me, it's getting sprayed down with that shit. Yeah, and there's a trick to it, folks. You have to do it at 70 degrees and up. Make sure to shake that can like you've never shook anything, including if you're a guy, your dick. You fucking shake that can for a long time, and then you spray it, and you let the sun dry it, or you let it dry in your house completely, and you hit it again. And that's boots, tents, clothing, if you want to put it on that. Whatever, and it seems to do a really good job. At least it has for me. Seam Sealer at every seam where the seams meet, and their stitching go over to stitching with the seam sealer. And that's my advice on that, if you really want to keep dry. But then you also have to think your feet aren't breathing, so you're going to get wet just from sweat. So it's always a trade-off, folks. Always a trade-off.
Have you ever heard of snow seal?
Yes, I have. What was your tips on that? Please do tell. I've never used it.
I've only used it in the northern cold climates before, but like on a leather insulated boot, after working for a few weeks straight out in the snow, doing like 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week, after a few months, I would take my boots, rub snow seal, which is basically a beeswax, all over the boot, and then before I go to bed at night, I would put the boots next to a fire, like a fireplace inside of the apartment or whatever, and let them warm up for about a half hour until that wax starts looking like it's wet. Then remove the shoes and put them in a normal area away from the heat to let them cure overnight. That helped proof them for work.
Nice. That sounds, you know what? I may try that. Thanks for that advice. Because probably that camp, whatever I just said, it popped in my head. Camp dry probably ain't no good for them, but they're still around. I mean, the boots are still fine, but, you know, if there's something, a better product, I'm always game to try it. So I do appreciate that. Now, what about the jeans that you got on display and the shirts?
All right, let me find that picture real quick.
It looks like they're Under Armour shirts. Well, one of them is. I can tell for sure. Can't tell the other one really. And then I think they might be like my favorite pair of jeans, naturally insulated. You know, they have a liner to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those are some good insulated jeans. Eddie Bauer's on the left, Levi's on the right. Again, those came really handy in January, February, and then above those are pretty much my favorite cold weather long underwear. Those are Under Armour 4.0s. Folks, if y'all are ever trying to get those, try and wait till Black Friday, because they're way overpriced. Hopefully on Black Friday you can find them for about half off.
Oh yeah.
Combining that gear together with a good thermal jacket and some thermal boots, you will stay warm, even if it's -20, -30 outside, as long as you're moving.
Yep, that's the truth. I know I have Eddie Bauer jeans. Mine are just bright, brilliant red lining instead of the what do you call that lining that you have like a shirt, the damn woodsman shirts. Daggone it. Frustrates me. I can't remember. A flannel shirt, you know. Anyways, whatever. It is what it is. A woodsman shirt. Whatever. I like wool too, man. Wool, anytime I can get it, I'm all over it, because wool will keep you warm when you're wet. And if it's cold out and you're wet, you're still warm with wool. So I'm a fan of wool. And your thoughts on that, brother?
Yeah, wool is critical. It's great for layering.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like we were talking about the other night. I was talking with Kimmy. Cold, you know, clean, dry, layered, loosely layered, and I lost the last time too, and I'm gonna do it again. Clean. Oh, well. It happened again. Go listen to the show with me and Kimmy, and you'll figure out what the O meant. I can't believe. Oh, sweating. Moisture. It's shit. Anyways, let's move on. That's just my fucked up memory. So that's good stuff on that. And I've got your cold weather gear, your jacket, your boot, your overpants, and the other stuff. And all three of those pictures are on this slide, brother. If you want to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, those are two different types of bibs. H&H is the bibs on the right. They're good for if you're getting rained on. The bibs on the left are just some snow bibs.
Yep.
I can't remember the brand of that rain jacket on the top, but that's a really good jacket. I've used those for rainy fishing trips in Oregon. I've used the green gear for that. I went sturgeon fishing one time, and it was just pouring rain for about 3 days, and that was the only thing that kept me dry. I was standing in rain for almost 10 hours straight on a boat going fishing and that stuff.
Yep, that's good stuff. So, that's what it is. And then your boots and your jacket. You want to touch on them?
Yeah, you and I had talked about Vibram soles. If you can find a boot with a Vibram sole on it, it's going to be a good boot. Vibram makes a couple different soles to interface with all types of different climates. On that snow boot, that Vibram sole, the X's on there change texture based on temperature, and those boots are meant to grip ice. I
Nice.
can wear those with the sock combinations and negative 35 and be outside all day, shoveling snow, walking across parking lots covered in at least 2-inch thick ice. Those boots have been great. I've walked through days where it snowed 4 feet in a day, and those boots were great for that type of climate. I would never wear those boots in any other conditions outside of a few months in Montana out of the year. And then the coat is a basic coat. It's made by Orage. There's tons of different coats that are good out there, to each his own. What I like about that one is it has the sleeves that we talked about earlier that literally have loops so that you can put your hands through, attached to the sleeves, and then put a glove over that sleeve attachment. And that helps make a seamless insulated cover from your hand all the way up your arm and your shoulder.
Yep. Nothing sucks more than getting some ice or snow in your glove, and then you have to lift or you're shoveling and you start getting those drips of cold water going down your forearms, and Lord knows, cold. It's clean, overheating. Avoid overheating. Loosely layered, but it's just one L, and then dry. And loosely layered helps you avoid overheating because you can take off the layers to keep yourself from overheating. Anyways, it came back to my mind, so I guess I'm old, but I'll eventually remember, right? That sounds fun. But yeah, I agree with you on all those points. Any more thoughts on that stuff?
Well, I was going to say, I get brain farts all the time too, brother. I'm getting more frequent every day I get older.
There we go. Now we can get into like the realities of bugging out if you want to, and bugging in, the differences between the two. Would you like to touch on that or no? Maybe we can do that in another show if you're bored.
Yeah, sure. I'll let you lead on that.
All right, not a problem. A lot of people, just like with us, just like with Hesher's show and everything, everybody I talk to, trust me, we're all the same. I call it, we're gear queers. we love our gear, our camping gear, our ATV gear when we're riding our ATVs, our motorcycle gear when we're riding our motorcycles, our shooting gear when we go shooting, whatever the apropos thing is. They say women have accoutrements, that they have things like purses and necklaces and all this shit. You ain't seen shit until you've seen a man who has gear. That's some accoutrement. Women can't touch it, and it's usually equally in price to them. And because of that, there's so much of it. I would need a semi-truck, literally, because I'd have to take my entire CONEX box with me to have all the gear that I need. Okay, that's I'm not even joking, because that's how I store my gear. And there's more CONEX boxes than one globally that I have of shit. But here's the funny point about that. You got one back and one body. And you have to think about the environment you're going to move in. Is it summer? Is it winter? Is it spring? Is it fall? Rainy season. Dry but still wet season, getting cooler. And then snow or ice. And, summer in the woods, right? But then you also have to think about the environment if you're in the desert. If you're only in a desert, you have to know the differences in the seasons there, from monsoon season to that's their, cold season, or whatever you want to call it. It's just massive rain and flooding. There's realities to this shit. And your mode of movement. Everybody's like, well, I got my war wagon. I'll roll with it. Yeah, you'll roll with that until you run out of gas. Then you go be on your LPCs, your leather personnel carriers. So there's something called a macro and a micro kind of bug out kit, or a bug out bag. Also, you have a micro and a macro survival kit. Near the tween shall meet, even though they do have some overlap, but they're not the same, as well as a med kit. So I just touched briefly on that. If you want to touch on any of that, so we can just have our natural banter we normally do, and we'll do that, brother. Let's do it, Snacky. Let's get into it, brother.
On running out of gas, Mr. Gasket makes a really good siphon pump that you can hook up to a car battery. You can put 2 fuel lines on each side. You can fit all of that in a really tiny pouch, maybe running like 4 to 6 feet of hose off of each side, maybe even more. And you can siphon gas out of anything in whatever container or gas tank you're trying to use. That's great for a car bug out kit. And back on the CONEX boxes or steel containers, those things are so freaking cool, man. I've got a 40-foot container back in another state, and I've got tons of gear in there. That thing is super safe. You can chain lock them. You can put the biggest padlocks in the world on them, protect your stuff. You can drive things inside of them like a 4-wheeler, or even small cars like a Chevrolet 4-wheel drive LUV, or even a smaller Tacoma, putting car tools in there. And you don't have to get, for some people think for bug outs they have to have a cabin somewhere on a piece of land, or some kind of home on a piece of land, and that's not true. You can get a piece of land, like an acre, half acre, put a CONEX or steel container box on it, and that can be a great bug out location for you. You don't have to have a cabin built. You can just have something that holds your gear. Maybe you drive there and park your car next to it and just access the container as you need it.
I'll tell you this, I'm not averse to, I can't say whether this exists or not, so, but I'll tell you something I'm not averse to. I'm not averse to having a CONEX box where I have my car in there. I can drive it in there, and then I can sleep in there, and even have a way out if somebody tries to be smart and lock me in there. So, it's kind of interesting that there's a lot you can do with it. You can even stack them. There's a guy that made a house. Actually, I think it was a castle out of CONEX's. I think you can find it on YouTube. That's where I might have seen it. My dog's barking. Can you run with that for a sec?
Yeah, sure. Steel containers are a great way to also take shortcuts when you're trying to build a structure to live in. I mean, it's a pre-built thing with a roof and walls and a solid floor on it. Just be aware if you start cutting the sides out of it, or cut a hole or windows or a port for a stairwell, and building inspectors for cities start getting involved, then you probably need to weld fortified squared tubing in it to give it structure. A lot of the building inspectors look for that when you start cutting on the sides of the steel containers. Also, if it's going to be a more permanent location for a steel container, pouring a concrete pad on it before you drop that container there can help.
Hell yeah.
So it doesn't move around when the soil starts flexing and contracting through the different seasons of the weather.
And give yourself a ramp so you can get over that lip. That's the truth. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's got to be that way, man. I'll tell you, one thing that I love about storage containers, you can make a storage container a double decker. It's going to be, if you split it even, you're going to have a 4 foot and a 4 foot area, to be honest. It's limited, but all it takes, people don't realize and people don't even realize who invented it. My buddy Georgios, he's been on this podcast numerous times. His uncle was Onassis. Onassis is the reason why we have fucking CONEX boxes. Because before that, we were sending shit in barrels and nets or loose. And that's really how shipping used to be done. And crates, barrels, and nets. That was shipping back then. And it was pretty much loose in the ships. And Onassis was like, there's got to be a better way. And so he sold space and the size of the storage container. So when you ship it, you pay for the space. That's all you're paying for. You're not paying for gas or anything. You're paying for space. The fuel for shipping it overseas and all that. So that's the kind of thing that's the reality of logistics. And Onassis was a genius. He came up with something that we still use to this day. And not only that, I guess he was a lucky guy. He got to fuck Jackie O, right?
CONEX boxes, they're not out of sight for people too, as far as price goes. You can get them used. You can get a 40-foot container. I've seen them as cheap as $1,000.
Yep.
Now the doors on them aren't going to be in that good a shape. There's probably going to be some surface rust, and anyone that you get, it's a good idea to go ahead and grease the hinges on the doors anyway, and greasing the locking bars and stuff.
Spray them.
You can turn $1,000 CONEX box into a nice repurposed structure.
Yeah, not only that, brother, all the grooves, that was where I was going with that. All the grooves when I said you could split it in half, it's a way of shipping. All those grooves that you see in them, you can actually put a 2x4 in there. That they're made to fit that. The reason why, you just cut the top at a little angle on each side. You slam that 2x4 up there, it'll hold just by, it's up and down and it's in that slot. And then you do it on the other side, you put something over it, in between it, and it'll hold, or it'll hold just naturally by friction. And you can actually put plywood or drywall up on it and make it pretty homey if you wanted to live in it. But you're right, when you start cutting windows and other things, the floors on all CONEX boxes are wood. So you can drill, you have to do a toenail on it, but you have to drill you can drill the bottoms of those 2x4s down into that. You can also cut rat holes in them to where you can get out from it, hide them. But see, when you do that, you can never ship that container again. I'm being very honest with everybody. If you ever cut a container, add a compartment, do anything, just like with cars when I was talking to Kimmy, internationally, I know this is a fact. With a shipping container, if it's got any difference other than like applique, form fitting, things to make a different level inside of it, it'll be accused of smuggling. And everything in that shipping container can be taken from you. So you have to be careful on what you do with it. If you've added any holes, anything like that, at that point, if you ship it internationally, it's going to get seized by every customs in the world. That's a fact. Your thoughts, bro?
Well, something kind of along the same lines. The floor area of these CONEX boxes or steel containers are a great location to run plumbing, electrical. You can do a raised floor like half a foot above the actual real flooring of the container to run all that stuff. You can use it to hide things if you're running boards across, like if it's a permanent structure for your bug out home. You can put some useful tools underneath there for emergency purposes and pull a board up to get all that stuff out. It's also protected, so it's inside of the container. It's not like a raised home where you're going to be dealing with a lot of snakes, rats, and spiders and stuff just by the nature of it being outside for a while. There's really no way for anything to penetrate to get inside of that steel container inside of your raised floor, so it's a more cleaner area to run all your plumbing and electrical through.
That's the truth. I know my CONEX box I visit periodically, the one that I access, and whenever I go there, I notice one time it is hilarious. I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and then there was a little bit of predation on some canvas shit, whatever. I saw that little holes, and I'm like, mouse. And well, the mouse must have been happy for a minute or whatever, right? So a few times later, I come in. I'll never forget. He must realize there's no food in here. Little son of a bitch. I opened the door up. That thing launched out there. This little mouse, dude. And I was like, that's a little prick. And he was like, there's nothing in here. I'm getting the fuck out. It was hilarious, man. The most hilarious thing. They're not getting into it unless... It had to have been that thing that I saw out of the corner of my eye coming in. And Lord knows what he was living on. But, I've been through my shit. And I don't see any predation on anything except for, like I said, the canvas things. But, gee, many Christmas. It was hilarious when I saw his ass jet out of there. Your thoughts?
Man, I'm gonna give some weird advice here. So, rats' nests and mice' nests leave the most god-awful smell from the acid that is in that defecation. It'll literally etch metal and be a part of that metal. And the funk will get worse the hotter it is and the more humid it is. And I found a formula that I have field tested and I've used to decontaminate vehicles that have had the worst nests in them that you couldn't even sit in for more than a minute without barfing. So here's a good formula for everybody to try out if you're ever in that situation and need to defunk something. You can take a pump sprayer, fill it all the way to the top with hydrogen peroxide, take a container of baking soda, dump it in there, and a few drops of dish soap. And that'll break the chemical bonds of the fecal matter and the urine from the mice or the rats or whatever. And it'll replace that death smell toothpaste.
Wow. That's the second use of toothpaste I've heard from somebody. The other one, my lights, I still haven't done it. I need to do it. A very good man, wise man. I love him to death. He's a good dude. he said, "Man, your lights are kind of fogged. You know, the lenses." And I'm like, "Yeah, it must be internal fogging. I don't know what's going on with it." He goes, "No, man, it's on the outside." He goes, "Take some toothpaste and just clean it off with that." I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna do it. I just haven't done it. So it probably will work.
Works, man.
Yep.
I've used baking soda to clean the outsides of them up.
Cool. Cause yeah, man, I'm getting like a yellow light out of them. You know how they get. You know, it's a 2001, bro. So, you know, it's been around. That vehicle's been around. I like my old shit.
If you come to your bug out vehicle or something and you find a rat's nest or a mouse nest in it, and aren't afraid to clean it out, using that mixture I just said in a pump spray and just spraying down all the contaminated surfaces and then blasting it out with a hose, it'll defunk that car real quick.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you. The only thing that I've ever found a mouse nest in is the pan, because I'm doing a pan off restoration on my Beetle. The center part of the pan, I came out and mice had shredded the insulation in my garage when I was gone, I think in Afghanistan for a few months. And they found a home in my pan. And all that insulation was in that pan, brother. I was like, gee, many Christmas. It was the worst, dude. Vacuuming, trying to vacuum out that damn pan, you know, the center line. That was a bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, those rodents are freaking bastards.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. They found home. Yeah, it was bad. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I got a local CONEX box. Was I was like, I got to do something that rodents can't get into. Yeah, for $1,500 you can find a CONEX box. Yeah, but wherever you get it shipped from, you're paying mileage on it. That's the bitch about it. Is you can get it pretty affordably, and a decent one too, and about $1,500, and have it brought to you. But every mile they move that damn CONEX, it's like I can't remember how many dollars. It's a lot. They juice you on that.
It's like $1,000 to move one.
Well, it depends. I mean, like if I'm 20 miles away from where it is, that I got mine, and that was about a $300 bill. So there you go.
Oh, to keep rodents out of a CONEX box or a bug out car too, something that I've used. I don't know the brand, but I'm sure you can find it in a couple different brands. Is a soap that is its primary ingredient is lemon oil, and shaving lemon soap with a cheese grater and putting that stuff in the floor of a vehicle and putting it around the entrance points of a steel container, it'll help turn away the rodents that are trying to come in.
Oh wow, yeah, that's cool. I just put rat poison out now. If I get a mouse or mouse poison, whatever, in glue traps, that's it.
Oh yeah, man, glue traps are the shit.
They are, except for the smell afterwards, bruh. You know. So yeah, that's bad juju. But yeah, I mean, I got a lot of clothing in there, memorabilia from my time service, and yeah. Anyway, so getting back to the realities of it, I only brought up the CONEX box, trying to say what gear whores we are. Here's the funny part about it, folks. And I'm not dissuading you from making a survival bug out area or nothing with one. That wasn't my meaning to this. But I'm just saying, the reality is, you're bugging out in your car. That's your macro. So anything in there, just like he said, that siphon, whatever possibilities you need to keep that car going. Tools, but see, all that stuff takes up space. And that takes up space from your bag, your clothing, whatever you need. I believe in low profile, but low profile to me means earth tones, olive drabs, browns, coyote tans. If it's winter, whites. And if they're white and they got green paint or brown paint or something like that on them, I don't care, because that just adds. It's like the old West German snow parkas and the other stuff they had. I have no problem with that. Matter of fact, you guys saw it when Bush during it was the when he went to Colorado or somewhere for a vacation or something, and the secret. No, it was during the Olympics. Mitt Romney was the governor of Utah. That's what it was. And you saw the Secret Service agents and the federal officers skiing. They had old West German camouflage on. And that's a fact. You guys look that shit up and you'll see the videos on that, and you'll see like, whoa, Chef actually knows what he's talking about. I usually do. Anyway, so the point is, anything you have needs to go with your terrain. And if you're planning on crossing state lines in different, like for me to go from here to, let's say, Las Vegas, can you imagine how much just basic clothing and gear I would need to fit in from woodland camouflage or woodland colors all the way to coyote brown and chocolate chip camouflage? Think about that, folks. You know, ACU doesn't fit up with any color scheme except for one couch. There's a famous meme with that picture on it. They say it breaks up body definition or body shape. Yeah, that's true. It does. But it breaks it up in a bad way. It's the same way that we did with our ships, and so did the English, and it was called Startle. And it was like reds, greens, blues. They painted all these different colors on ships to make it not look like a ship. They even made some of them look like cities. Well, you still look like something. And the best thing is to blend in with the environment. And you don't have to be all high-techy, tactical. It does help in a woodland environment. It can help break up your outline a lot better. But the thing is, as long as you've got browns, and everything's, I'm not saying mixed. Everything's logical. If you have a brown that's close to the ground, i.e. brown boots, and the ground's brown, it's autumn or winter. And then the other stuff's brown or a light green or a dark green. Actually, for autumn, it would be a more dark green because maybe there's evergreens out there. Then you fit in. If there's snow and the trees have, white on them from some snow or dew freezing, then it doesn't matter if you put on a white hat. You understand where I'm going with this? It's about logic and fitting in with your environment and being low key. You don't look like you're a soldier. You shouldn't look like one, because you're not. You're out there trying to survive. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Picking a weird color in the wrong environment, things stick out.
Hell yeah.
Neon orange snow jackets aren't going to be the greatest if you're trying to blend in somewhere.
Or orange and brown, or orange and yellow backpacks. And most of these survival kits or prepper kits or bug out bags that people are selling through different outlets, what do they always pimp? They're pimping orange and yellow when you get the bag. You're like, what the flip? And same with the first aid kits. It's the same way. I understand the first aid kit because, that's something that you need to see. You need to know what it is. But there's a way to work around it, and we used to do it all the time. You have your coyote brown or your green first aid or blowout bag, whatever you have, and it'll be still camouflaged, but you have a red tag on it. And on that red tag, you don't have to put anything there except for maybe your blood type and maybe your name if you want to put it on there, but blood type definitely. And that's just your blood type, not anybody else's. And instantly by that tag sticking out of your bag that little red strip, what it is. And you can find those tags through, if you want to look at what they are, the company, it's been around forever. It was started by Mitch Warble. And that sells them. But it's made by Ira Green. And they're just gear tags. That's what they call them. But, excuse me, you can find it from, it's not Ranger Joe's. It's outside of Fort Benning, Myland. It's not U.S. Cavalry. It's the other one. Just look up Mitch Warble's, General Mitch Warble's surplus store outside of Fort Benning. I could look it up. Hold on. Run with something for a minute while I look that up, brother. All right? You there?
Yeah.
All right.
Here.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. And personally, a lot of my gear is black, and a lot of it doesn't work too well in all the different environments. Black actually does stick out in some ways versus an olive or sandstone color. And most of the black stuff I bought was early on when I was first getting it. But going forward, try and find olive and gear.
Yeah, brother.
Not sure what else to say on that.
I don't know, brother. I'm trying to find this thing, so you can take it in a different direction, brother. Just keep rolling on with some surplus stuff or whatever. All right, let me find this real quick because it's driving me nuts. This one, I do want people to know where to find this stuff at. All right, cool.
All right.
Cool, brother.
Yeah, Hazard 4 is one of the products that I have that's a tan color that we saw earlier. It's a laptop bag, but they make some really good tan colored duffel bags and backpacks. 511 has some gear that's tan. Triple Aught Design, London Bridge. And they make things that are in camo too. Different types of camo.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Camo, it's an interesting thing, man. Camo is a dual-edged sword. Hold on. Surplus store. See, this is bad radio right here because I'm trying to find something out and there's quiet as I type. All right.
I'm stalling.
Yeah, I know you are, brother. It's all good. Jesus Christ. It may have changed now. It may have just changed the name of it. Whatever. It's it's like U.S. Cavalry store back in the day. It's from the 80s. maybe it doesn't exist, but the gear tags were made from and promoted through that store, and you'll see it at every military base being sold at clothing sales for those gear tags. Just get the red ones, have it hanging out of the thing to where you can see red, and you grab that damn bag, you know it's first aid. So anyways, getting back to what we were talking about, I find green is fine even in the winter unless there's snow. So, you know, sheets are fine. Don't let the sheet be just stark white. Even if you got to paint it yourself, give it some brown for the ground, maybe a little red, little, you know, slits, like paint lines, so it doesn't look just like you're wearing a poncho. You see what I'm saying? You want something there to maybe fit in with the environment you're in. And that's something a lot of people make mistakes on. The U.S. military's snow camo is made for, like, fighting in Russia in the winter. In the winter in Russia, it's white. Completely white. And usually it's snowing so badly. I mean, the Germans found this shit out. You're not even seeing shit in the distance because of blizzard conditions. So that's a good camo for out there. But you want it to be stark white if it's real snowy out. But you also have to remember there's creeks, there's trees, different things. Make your lines right. Fit into your area. And make sure it's something, I say paint, but I mean something that you can take off. And you can do that with like camo sticks, camo compacts, and then you can always wash it off. You know, just like you can wash it off your body, you can wash it off your clothes. And that's my advice for that. That's a little E&E shit, so who cares? But I do know this. Maxpedition, they had a foliage green and a tan bag. I own one, and friends of mine own them. And it's because those bags fit in everywhere. I hate those two colors together because that was the ACU uniform, and people will say that's the wrong name and say this, that, and the other. It's called this. No, it's the Army camouflage uniform, like the BDU, battle dress uniform. And it was a bag of shit. It didn't blend into anything, except it did break up your fucking outline. But who cares if it breaks up your outline? If you're in a woodland environment, it sticks out like a fucking dick in a sorority house. You don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying, Snacky?
Yeah, pretty sure I know what you mean.
Yeah.
From a different angle, but I know exactly what you mean on that comment.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, everybody knows what's going on. So, anyways, is there any topics that you want to hit? Because I've been running my suck. And this show is to feature you, my brother, on your thoughts, not necessarily mine. I'll roll with it.
I appreciate it, man. I'm drawing some blanks, but we covered a lot of different types of gear and covered a lot of different uses for the bug out in different climates, and it's important to be prepared, and these types of pieces of gear can really help you if shit hits a fan scenario, whether you got to move immediately in the next 10 minutes or you're moving to a semi-permanent location where you got a steel all the gear that we talked about and more so can really help you in those scenarios.
With that, I say a hell yeah, brother man. What you say?
Fucking A.
There you go, brother. So with that being said, this was a great show with Snacky. Had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, learned a lot of things. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. If you didn't, let me know in the comments. Like, comment, and share. That's the key to this. And as you're exiting Kaiser's Castle, I will slowly raise the drawbridge as you meander on out, sipping your coffee, tea, soda, or adult libation. And I quietly raised that drawbridge. And with that being said, shuff out.